All right, Potterheads, get ready, because today we're going on a deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
And we're apparating straight into the world of Harry Potter films. But this time,
With a twist.
yeah, with a
We're
twist.
looking for mistakes.
Those little movie mistakes that even the most dedicated fans might have missed.
The ones you have to have your eyes peeled for
Exactly.
to really spot.
And our Marauders map, in this case,
Yes, our
has
guy.
a CBR article highlighting 10 of them.
10 mistakes in the Harry Potter films. And you know what's really interesting about these mistakes?
What's that?
Is that they're not just fun little trivia. They actually reveal a lot about how the filmmakers adapted the source material.
Yeah, and sometimes those choices they made, they change the story.
In really subtle but significant ways.
Exactly. It's like we're getting a peek behind the curtain
Behind the scenes.
at the wizardry of filmmaking.
Yeah.
But instead of,
CGI and special effects and stuff.
we're looking at things like continuity errors and altered storylines.
Exactly. The stuff that maybe you didn't notice, but
Really changes things.
yeah.
So before we fall too deep into the pensive of cinematic blunders, let's start with something I think almost everyone missed.
Oh, what's that?
Harry's eyes.
His eyes.
In the books, his emerald green eyes are a huge deal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're his connection to his mother, Lily, and a constant reminder of, his parents' legacy.
Right, it's like the one thing he has of his mom.
Exactly.
But in the movies,
yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe, he just has his natural blue eyes.
You'd think they could have,
Conjured up.
conjured up some magical contact lenses.
Yeah.
Right? But apparently Radcliffe was allergic to the green ones.
Oh.
Still, though, it's a pretty big detail to overlook.
I mean, especially considering how much the books emphasize Harry's eye color. It's almost like they forgot he was supposed to be
The boy who lived but with the wrong colored eyes.
the wrong colored eyes. Okay, so that's like a visual detail that maybe they just kind of overlooked. But let's move on to a mistake that's less about visual details and more about
internal logic?
of the wizarding world.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Okay, so you know that amazing Weasley clock?
Oh, yeah.
The one that keeps track of where each family member is.
It's brilliant.
So in the film version of Chamber of Secrets, one of the locations on that clock is dentist.
Wait a minute, a dentist?
Dentist.
That doesn't make any sense.
I know, right?
Wizards have their own ways of dealing with,
Toothaches.
toothaches,
All
splinching.
those magical maladies.
Can you even imagine a wizard trying to explain a root canal to a muggle dentist?
I would
The
hate it.
chaos.
Like trying to teach Fluffy to fetch.
Exactly. So the dentist location, it's a funny little detail, but it really makes you wonder if the filmmakers fully grasped just how different wizarding culture is from the muggle world.
It's almost like they were trying to sneak in a little bit of muggle humor
Yeah.
for the audience. But it ends up highlighting a disconnect between the film's portrayal of the wizarding world and its internal consistency.
Yeah, like they weren't really thinking about how things actually work in that world.
Exactly.
A little slip up.
Okay, so speaking of inconsistencies, let's talk about something that I think really divided fans.
Okay.
The fate of the Elder Wand.
Oh, yeah, in Deathly Hallows.
In Deathly Hallows.
Big one.
In the book, Harry repairs his own wand using the Elder Wand, and then he returns it to Dumbledore's tomb.
Right. Letting the power kind of fade away.
Right. But in the movie,
Oh.
he snaps it in half and throws it away.
Oh, wow.
Dramatic.
Visually dramatic.
Yes. But also quite different.
Yeah, that change really sparked a lot of debate amongst fans.
For sure.
Some people loved it. They loved the, visual impact of Harry breaking the wand and symbolizing his rejection of ultimate power.
Right.
But others felt that it kind of went against Harry's character.
Yeah.
And even created a plot hole.
How so?
Because he never fixes his own wand in the film. So what's he using for the rest of his life? A twig.
Yeah, I mean, the book version really shows Harry making this deliberate choice to relinquish power, which is,
A major theme.
a major theme in the series.
Yeah.
The film kind of simplifies that by just having him destroy it.
Right. It's a cool moment visually, but it doesn't have that same nuance as the book.
Yeah. It also makes you wonder, is destroying a powerful magical object really the best way to neutralize it?
Yeah. Who knows what kind of magical backlash that might cause.
Right. Maybe it's better to just let sleeping wands lie.
Exactly.
Okay. So speaking of things that might cause some magical mischief, let's talk about a theme that pops up quite a bit in the films.
Yeah, okay.
Underage magic
Yes.
and the rules surrounding it.
Or should we say the lack of rules?
The rather inconsistent rules surrounding it. It's like
Yeah.
the Wizarding World's version of a parking ticket.
How so?
Sometimes it's enforced.
Sometimes it's completely ignored.
Exactly.
I mean, to be fair, magic is a lot more unpredictable than parking.
That's true.
But, the films do make you wonder, are there different rules for different wizards? Or are the filmmakers just taking a little creative license with the rules to create drama and tension?
Yeah, it's a good question. 1 minute, Harry's getting a stern warning from the Ministry for inflating his Aunt Marge. And the next, he's casually threatening Dudley with his wand in broad daylight.
Yeah, where are the Ministry officials when you need them?
Right. Maybe they're hiding in a broom cupboard.
Probably. Or maybe they're just too busy trying to figure out how to file a parking ticket for a flown car.
Okay, speaking of things that makes you go,
What's that?
The films seem to have aged up James and Lily Potter quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
When Harry sees them in the Mirror of Erised, they look middle-aged, even though they were only 21 when they died.
Yeah, that's a great observation. In the books, their youth is constantly emphasized, which really makes their deaths all the more tragic.
Right, because they were so young.
It's like the filmmakers wanted to avoid the whole logistical hassle of casting young actors for such a brief, emotionally charged scene.
Right. Just get some older actors in there.
Yeah.
But it does change the emotional impact of that moment. I think seeing James and Lily as these, young, vibrant individuals who are robbed of their future would have added
a whole other layer
of tragedy to Harry's story. It's a perfect example of how these seemingly small choices in adaptation can have a ripple effect on the story.
Yeah, like a magical domino effect.
And we've got plenty more dominoes to topple. So hold on to your wands, folks, because we're just getting started.
Welcome back, Potterheads. We're digging even deeper into these fascinating Harry Potter movie mistakes.
And we're about to uncover a missing character.
Oh.
They created a bit of a financial mystery for the Weasley family.
Oh, really? Now I'm curious.
So this one's about a character who's absent from the films. Completely absent.
Okay.
Ludo Bagman.
Little Bagman.
Remember him from Goblet of Fire?
Oh, yeah, he was that former Quidditch star.
Turned Ministry official.
With a bit of a gambling problem.
Yes, and not the winning kind.
That's right.
And in the book, Ludo ends up owing Fred and George a hefty sum.
After losing a bet.
After losing a bet on the Quidditch World Cup.
Oh, right.
Which leads to Harry generously giving the twins his Triwizard Tournament winnings.
So they can start their joke shop.
Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
Yeah.
But in the movies, Ludo is just gone, vanished.
Ooh.
Leaving us to wonder where the twins got the money to fund their entrepreneurial dreams.
It's a classic example of how removing a seemingly minor character can have these ripple effects on the plot.
It's like vanishing a key ingredient from a potion.
The final product might look similar, but
something's off.
It's not quite the same.
Okay, speaking of things that are a little different.
Yes.
The films perpetuate this common misconception about the Triwizard Tournament.
Okay, what's that?
That Beauxbatons is an all-girls school and Durmstrang is an all-boys school.
Oh yeah, you see that very clearly in the films. The graceful ladies of Beauxbatons arriving in their, elaborate carriage, and then the stoic lads of Durmstrang emerging from their shadowy ship.
It's very ballet versus wrestling match.
Exactly.
But in the books,
Uh-oh.
both schools have male and female students.
Oh, so they just changed it for the films.
Yeah, it seems like they opted for a more visually striking and simplified representation.
Makes sense.
Even if it meant, straying a bit from the source material.
Right.
Now, let's talk about a line of dialogue that just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Given the speaker's background.
I'm ready.
In Prisoner of Azkaban, when Sirius confronts Snape in the Shrieking Shack, he tells Snape to go play with his chemistry set.
Now, that always struck me as odd.
Yeah.
Because Sirius, as a pure-blood wizard raised in the magical world, would have absolutely no concept of what a chemistry set is. It's a muggle term that just wouldn't be in his vocabulary.
Right. It's like hearing Hagrid quote Shakespeare.
Yeah, totally out of character.
It's a small detail, but
it highlights how important it is for dialogue to be authentic to a character's background and experiences.
Yeah, even a single word can throw off a character's entire persona.
For sure.
Okay, speaking of things that are a little out of character.
What now?
Let's talk about Hermione's tendency to bend the rules.
Yes. When it comes to underage magic.
We've already touched upon this a little bit.
A little.
But there's one particular instance that stands out.
Okay.
In Prisoner of Azkaban, we see Harry practicing spells under his bed sheets.
Oh yeah, breaking the rules.
Clearly breaking the rules.
Classic Harry.
But think about the implications if all Hogwarts students were running around practicing spells unsupervised.
Oh, it would be chaos.
Absolute chaos.
Not to mention dangerous.
Right. And the Ministry of Magic is incredibly strict about underage magic.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the risk of exposure to muggles.
Exactly.
It's a big deal.
It's almost as if the film just forgets about these rules whenever it needs to create a bit of drama or humor.
Or maybe Hogwarts has a really good insurance policy.
One that covers,
accidental transfiguration.
And rogue Weasley fireworks.
Always a good idea.
Okay, before we get sidetracked by exploding dung bombs.
Yes, let's stay focused.
Let's talk about another instance where the films seem to just completely disregard the rules of underage magic. Okay. Harry's little outburst in Order the Phoenix.
Oh,
when he threatens Dudley with his wand.
After Dudley's been bullying him.
In the park.
That scene always raises eyebrows. Yeah, I mean, after all, Harry faced some pretty serious consequences for using magic outside of Hogwarts in Prisoner of Azkaban.
You'd think he'd be a bit more careful.
Right? Especially with the Ministry watching his every move.
Maybe he thought Dudley's bullying was a worse fate than facing the Dementors.
Perhaps. Or maybe the filmmakers just thought that a little rule breaking was needed to add some excitement to the scene.
A little dramatic flair.
Whatever the reason, it's clear that the rules surrounding underage magic are about as flexible as a Kneazle in the Harry Potter films.
Very flexible.
Well, speaking of things that are flexible, or should I say inaccurate, we've got one last mistake to dissect before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay, hit me with it.
And it involves a certain magical timepiece that's full of surprises.
Wait, are we going back to the Weasley clock?
The Weasley clock.
With the dentist location?
The very same.
Oh, we've come full circle.
It's one of those details that really makes you wonder if the filmmakers were paying attention to the intricacies of the wizarding world.
The little things.
The little things.
It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes about the importance of internal consistency in world building.
It's like finding a misplaced brick in Hogwarts Castle.
It might not seem like a big deal.
It throws off the entire structure.
Well said. And with that architectural analogy, let's take a quick break before we tackle the final part of our deep dive.
Don't go anywhere, Potterheads. We'll be right back to explore more of these magical movie mistakes. Welcome back to the Deep Dive Potterheads. We're wrapping up our exploration of those intriguing movie mistakes that make us see the Harry Potter films in a whole new light.
As we've seen sometimes, these mistakes, they aren't just about, continuity errors or visual inconsistencies. They can actually spark these deeper discussions about adaptation choices and character development and even
the rules of the wizarding world.
Exactly.
And for our final observation, let's circle back to that mysterious dentist location on the Weasley clock.
Ah, yes, the dental dilemma.
I mean, it's such a funny detail, but it really highlights how the films sometimes struggle to capture those unique cultural nuances of the wizarding world.
Yeah, wizards have their own remedies for everything.
Everything from broken bones to boils.
Why on earth would they need a muggle dentist?
It'd be like trying to explain the concept of flu powder to a plumber.
It just wouldn't compute.
It's a reminder that even in a world of magic and wonder, some things just don't translate well across cultural boundaries.
Very true.
And that's the beauty of these deep dives, isn't it?
What's that?
We get to unpack these little details and discover how they connect to bigger ideas about storytelling and adaptation and
the creative process.
Exactly.
These mistakes, or maybe we should call them creative choices, they give us a glimpse behind the curtain of filmmaking and remind us that even the most beloved adaptations are interpretations of the source material.
And sometimes those interpretations, they lead to fascinating discussions and debates among fans.
Oh, for sure.
So what other movie mistakes have you noticed? Not just in Harry Potter, but in any films adapted from books.
Yeah, head over to our social media and let us know.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
It's always intriguing to see how different viewers engage with these stories and spot the little details that make us question and laugh and
think a little deeper.
Exactly.
Until next time, Potterheads, keep your wands at the ready, your eyes peeled for those curious inconsistencies, and remember,
mischief managed.